We're going to start today without any music. You want to know why? Because I don't feel like playing it. Because emotionally, I am supercharged. There's something called the Oslo Accords. I think maybe you should Google it and see what was included and what was excluded. Every country, considering you have France, England, Canada, who all decided by virtue on being definitely not a colonial type, to appoint and give and create a country without authorization to do so. And again, where's the reference to this? Oslo. Yasser Arafat rejected the two-state solution. Rejected. Who is the governing body of a two-state solution if the government rejected it? I don't know. David, this is going to be an interesting little rant. Welcome, everybody, to the Rant Network, a go-to podcast, unfiltered, unapologetic discussion, hosted by that guy, David Solomon, and myself, Stuart Brisgell. We tackle a diverse range of topics with candid conversations for definitely their bold opinions. Whether it's breaking down the latest headlines, exploring pop culture, debating politics, or delving into complexities of modern life, we offer this from every perspective. So grab a seat, settle in, and join us on this thought-provoking little rant. David, this is where your voice matters. What say you?
Mm-hmm. So I want to understand how I'm a colonizer when Britain, Australia, France, Israel, and Portugal, and a whole bunch of other countries decided this is where their state is going to be. Excuse me. What gives you the right to determine for an independent country what territory they're allowed to cede or offer or whatever? The hypocrisy by these countries who claim in their party policies about creating land recognitions and all this bullshit suddenly have decided that Israel is, Jews are, they have to give up land. We're going to force Netanyahu's hand. This is the mindset. That's the mindset of a colonizer. That's the mindset of a bully. And that's exactly what has been going on with Canada, UK, France, and the rest of the world. We're going to bully Israel into a deal. Now, Stuart started it off in the middle of the story and by saying about Oslo Accords in the early 90s. But it predates that. It goes back to the 1920s when Britain tried to offer a two-state solution, which was rejected. He forgot to also list the 1947 UN partition plan that happened on November 29, 1947, where, that UN decided at that time to separate the land, and the Arabs rejected it and then attacked Israel. Stuart neglected to talk about the 6-Day War. It's neglected to talk about, the Palestinians attacking Israel from Lebanon, Jordan, Tunis, all these things. And my favorite story, in 2000, when Bill Clinton had Ehud Barak and Yasser Arafat at Camp David, and a two-state solution was put on the table by Ehud Barak by giving him 97% of what Arafat offered. And Arafat said at that point, not just no, but no, no, no. Not no, let's negotiate, no, and launched an intifada.
David, you forgot. You forgot the Suez Crisis of '56 just because I left it out.
I did not. By
the way, Gaza operations are 2008, 2009, 2012, 2014, 2021, and 2023 to present. So, and by the way, that it doesn't include all the skirmishes and missiles that have been launched for the last 50 years. Sorry for interrupting, David, but
of course. And look, here's the thing, right? While Israel has been under attack, suicide bombers, innocent people killed on a regular basis by these terrorists, the pay-to-slay programs, all these things, the hypocrisy that the world has put is unbelievable. It's unbelievable because these guys are telling Israel how to act, how to behave when they themselves don't do it, right? They're criticizing Israel by left, right, and center. The lies, the spin, the anti-Semitism is off the charts. But Stuart, there's a reason. There's a reason why suddenly these countries have all emerged all of a sudden. Because what happened in Canada? and the UK, for example, where all of a sudden there's a pivot from being an ally to Israel to being her enemy. Stuart, can you guess what that possibly could be? No, Stuart, I don't think you even have a clue. So both Canada and the United States have been, Canada and the UK went through an election in the last year. And let me tell you something. Who got voted in? Well, in the UK, the Labour Party took 399 out of 650 seats. The Conservative Party imploded. The Conservative Party was friendly to Israel. And guess what they did? They've been voting more and more against Israel. Why? Because 19 of the labor members of this party, 5% of the party, are Muslim. This is a growing number in the party with a strong voice and a very influential move. If you look at all the ridings in which they've won in, they've been chanting death to Jews, death to Israel, and the Labour Party has taken on that mantra. Just look at all the policies. The same thing is happening in Canada, Stuart. Unfortunately, this is exactly what happened. 15 Muslims were elected to the house, into the parliament. 15. They are influencing the Canadian Liberal Party, because beforehand you had the Conservative Party of Canada, who forged a very, very powerfully strong relationship with Israel. But since Trudeau went to bed with them, and now it's Carney, your favorite prime minister, you see more and more and more of this influence. Now, it's interesting to note how much power they're wielding, including my member of parliament who has decided himself he was going to single-handedly try to destroy Israel. This is the problem, Stuart, is that in order to win an election, you're going to bed with a group of enemies. Now, I'm not saying every Muslim's bad, because that's what I'm going to be accused of, racism. But I've heard firsthand the policies. You read what they're saying. You listen to the chants. You don't have to just listen to the Rashida Tlaibs and the Ilhan Omars that get a lot of the press. Go and watch what these MPs are doing every single time something happens in Gaza. Stuart, these are both prime ministers. You took two prime ministers who have zero, or whose ratings are plummeting in their own countries. And it's just easier to point the finger elsewhere because it's a media darling. Anything to shit on Israel is great, which means, problems in the UK and problems in Canada and problems in France and problems in Spain and problems in Portugal just get off the front pages. It moves back because the hate towards Israel is more powerful than the problems in their own country. And thanks to this new alliance that is growing in strength, there's no turning back. Europe is sunk. Canada is sunk. They've gone to bed with the wrong people. What is going to happen in 10, 15 years from now, when women in Canada and all these other Western countries have to cover themselves up with scarves? What is going to happen when they have to adhere to Sharia law? Because this is where you're going, people. The fact that you've declared an independent Palestinian state, of which Bibi Netanyahu basically told you to all go screw yourselves, he gave you the middle finger, and he said it won't happen, is a proof positive of who you've gone to bed with. You've sided with the terrorists. You've sided with people for your own political for your political survival. Your hatred towards Jews is more obvious than ever. And I don't care if Keir Starmer is married to a Jew. So is Kamala Harris. It doesn't mean anything. All it means is that you are a bunch of hypocrites who've tried to tell people woke policy, that didn't work. So now let's go bitch at the Jew. Now let's go bitch at Israel. Now let's go tell her how she should act. When none of these countries right now, by the way, Stuart, each of these countries have a secessionist party, have a group of people who want to secede. And like I said before, Stuart, and with this, I'm going to wrap up my very lengthy monologue. Canada should, Israel should recognize Quebec as an independent state. They should recognize the Basque in Spain, should introduce all of these secessionist people and parties in all the different countries just to fuck with these governments. Because you know what? You have basically put 9 million lives at stake by making this declaration of a Palestinian state.
David, I think what people fail to understand is why are they silent about Russia?
Why do they care?
Yeah. Well, why are they silent about the Ukraine? Why are they silent about Sudan? Why isn't Rashida Tlaib talking about the hundreds of thousands that die in Sudan? What about Ilhan Omar? She's silent about Sudan and Russia too. What about Bernie Sanders? He's silent about Russia, Ukraine, and Sudan. Let's talk about AOC. She's silent about Russia, Sudan, the Ukraine. Why are they not talking about the death and destruction in China? How the Muslims are being massacred there? No, you're right, David. There is a bias. There is a political need to have to try and justify. And you know what? The only hope is that we get through this and they understand what they're actually going into. Why do these people leave these countries to come here? Why do they want to have Dearborn, Michigan, a Muslim-only city, and tell Christians to go? Why are they having streets named after martyrs that are from Hamas and Hezbollah? You got to wonder what they're really thinking. And at what point will their thought process catch up to them? You're right, David. I looked at pictures from the 1960s and 70s from Tehran, right? From Lebanon, Beirut. And I saw what these countries looked like. And I think we should remind people on what these places were before the Ayatollah Khomeini took control of the Arab world. Because the Ayatollah Khomeini is the octopus head. And that is where these problems are coming from. And it's the politicians that have no fortitude, no God in their warehouse. David?
You know what, Stuart? You're bringing up this question of how things were in these old other Arab or Muslim countries, and people don't care. Stuart, let me just put it to you this way: people don't care. What we're seeing right now is this whole idea of declaring a Palestinian state, rewarding terrorists for killing, maiming, burning.
Did you hear the latest, David? Though Palestine, Hamas wants to negotiate with Donald Trump.
How about the fact that Hamas said thank you cards to all of these world leaders? It's amazing, Stuart. Could you have imagined after 9/11 getting a thank you card from, Al Qaeda or the Taliban? It would have been unheard of. It would have been scandalous. It would have been horrific that a government would have received such a thank you. Hey, thank you for supporting us as we killed 3,000 Americans. That's what Hamas did. And the world is laughing it off, going, no big deal. It is a big deal. Basically, you reward terror. I do not wish upon anybody, and I mean anybody, the death and destruction that Israel saw over 700 days ago. And as we're reaching now the Jewish New Year, how sick and ironic that on one of the holiest days of the Jewish calendar, these bastards are going to declare a Palestinian state. How dare these people not understand what the lives that they've right now threatened? It's easy just to sit there and go, we need a Palestinian state because I'm going to force Bibi into a two-state solution. But you're forcing people into what? What are the Palestinians getting out of this, Stuart? Really, what are they getting out of it? Because you have no leadership, and to say the PA, the Palestinian Authority, is going to be the magicians all of a sudden, they are still paying people to slay. We've had terrorist activities for months now coming out of the West Bank, promoted by the Palestinian Authority, and that's okay. Basically, they went to bed with a devil to get rid of another devil. Come on. Seriously? Mahmoud Abbas, they said he's going to declare an election in 2026. He's had one election in his entire career. In over almost 20 years of being in power, promising democratic elections, he hasn't called one because he knows he's going to lose to Hamas. So if he went to bed with Keir Starmer and Carney and Macron to get rid of Hamas as a political entity, which I find ironic. It's not a political; they're terrorist groups. Bravo. But you know what? You basically have rewarded terrorists. That's what you've done. You're not going to make the Palestinian lives better. I promise you that. Okay? You're not. You're not going to feed more people because they could have. Because people in the West Bank are still living in misery and poverty, thanks to the PA. While Mahmoud Abbas is a billionaire.
And the UN. I have to say, listen, there are tens of thousands of tons of food spoiled and rotten. But David, on that note, we got to call this one and wrap up. Any last sentences? Any last words?
You got, please, I'd like you to finish this.
You know what, guys? I wish everyone a happy and healthy New Year. For those celebrating Rosh Hashanah, I hope everyone has the strength and fortitude. And I hope you understand that what we are saying is the God's honest truth. Take care, guys. Then this brings this podcast to another close. We truly appreciate you tuning in, sharing your time. Your support and engagement means the world to us. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, we slay it because we say it. Anyways, guys, if you have any tough questions, please message us. We'd love it. We love the fact that you're watching it. Please share, love, and come check us out Wednesday.